Kaizer Chiefs will face Richards Bay, a relegation-threatened team. And I'm not saying this to say, oh, this should be an easy game, but to actually point out the opposite, which is the fact that it's going to be a much harder game, given the fact that these guys are trying to get out of there. So how will Nabi approach this game, given the players who he has on his disposal and the players who are back from injury, and on top of that, the players who are most suitable for this kind of match? Well, let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pilo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. Okay, so I first need to start by going back to the game against Cape Town City in order for me to talk about this, because one thing that I did not do in the post-match reaction video is, since I was talking about what we did in attack and why we got the chances that we got, I did not mention players like Abu Vuma, who came to save the Chiefs when it mattered the most. I said nothing much when it comes to Dove, how solid he was in that game. I did not say much about Simango, also very solid in that game, and obviously Ucele was still solid in that game. So big ups to those guys, because if someone is doing well, you need to always appreciate them. Now, let's talk about this game specifically and why you have not subscribed. Yeah, subscribe. We're trying to reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of March. 15 days left, so we can get there. Anyways, so I think that the coach, we should go back to the system that has been playing, which is to try and keep the ball more, have a very, very good compact team, not just in attack, so that we can stretch them and also pull them back and closer to them. But I think that there should be a minor tweak, which we're going to talk about later on. Two minor tweaks, in fact. So starting in defense, I think that Vuma still starts. That's not even an argument at this point. And then when we go to the right back position, I still think that Dylan Solomons should start this game. And because I saw something on Wednesday in that game, that he did look like he's still struggling a bit when it comes to fitness-wise. But I still think that the only way that you're going to get him fit is if you give him more game time, and especially if you start with him. Reason being, he is not just good at trying to kick the ball into the box and play crosses, which Frosler is very good at. But we need more people who will have individual brilliance moments, right? Because what am I even talking about? So if you have Frosler on the right wing position or just on the right side in the final third, what are you expecting from him? For him to play 1-2 with someone else, cross the ball into the box, or play a cutback and we have a goal, right? But here we're talking about a team that's going to be solid to a level whereby they will either play a 4-4-2 that is sitting deep when they're defending. They could play a 5-4-1. We've seen teams play things like 6-3-1. We've seen teams just playing a 6-4. Sometimes they do that. But Richards Bay, the games that I've watched, they usually just leave someone up front. So it could be a 5-4-1, could be a 6-3-1, so that at the back, they have 6 people, like the 4 defenders and then the wingers helping the left back and the right back. And then the 3 in midfield, and then the 1 to be the out ball when they are trying to attack. So if you have a winger or a right back even who can dribble, you are basically saying we don't try to break them down by playing the ball past people, but you can also just say, Solomons, take that man on, eliminate one person, then you can now play that 1-2 with Ulilep or whoever is going to be playing on the right wing, or just go straight yourself and then you can cut back the ball once you're inside the box. That's my logic of this. So I think that Solomons should play mainly because of that reason, which then brings us to the center back pairing, which obviously Inacio Miguel and giving him Simango. And there's something that was said by someone, they were like, don't take out a defender and bring on another defender. And as much as sometimes that is true, that sometimes when you're attacking, you need to sacrifice defenders. If you're bringing out a defender to bring in another defender, like if you keep Solomons or Frosler, you're not really trying to defend, but you're trying to add creativity, because as we know, nowadays, defenders are not just all about defending. As I just spoke about Solomons, a defender can actually come in and give you something going forward. And also, not forgetting the fact that when it also comes to bringing in players into a team, it's not just about what position they play, but it's also about the chemistry and understanding that they have, the freedom that they give to other players. As we've said before, if you have a player like Udove, for example, who we're going to talk about on the left wing, covering that side, and you play Sirino on that side, Sirino is not that worried about the fact that I have to track back because he knows that Dove has it on lockdown. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes bringing on a defender is not about actually defending, but it could be about freeing up a player who's a further advanced player. Like, let's say, bringing on Oxim Tetwa. It's just a side note here. You bring on Oxim Tetwa, I'm not saying he should be brought on, but you're trying to free up Ucele to push further up the field and not worry about the defensive work. But we're going to talk about midfield in a moment. So, left back, center back pairing, those pick themselves. Dove there, Msimango there, Inacio there. And I think I'm going to keep on saying this. The partnership between Inacio Miguel and Kevin Msimango is better than the partnership between Inacio and Dudley. And this is not because Dudley was a bad player. I just feel like somewhere, somehow, there was just a lack of understanding between the two. And Dudley is going to come back next season, and I don't know whether he's still going to be able to fit into that squad, given the fact that for what we've seen so far, those guys are gelling very well together, Umsimango or no Inacio. So we're going to see how far this partnership develops with the games that Chiefs have before the end of the season. But anyways, we're not there. We're now going to the defensive midfield position. And this is where there are a lot of talks, because on Wednesday, when Nabi took off Ushabalala, we're like, okay, he's out. He only missed one chance, but he was very good at progressing the ball forward and helping us keep the ball. And they were like, why did he take him off? I honestly don't know. To now, I did not analyze the game, obviously, the first half in detail in what was happening in midfield. Rather, I just watched at the key moments in what we're trying to do and going forward, like in the final third specifically. So it's either it was an injury or the coach just wanted something different, because we had Cape Town City. The tree of Cape Town City, they had Userero, they had Mokocho, they have Makarenga. That's a very good midfield trio, but we had them under control. We kept the ball more than them. So as to why Mshini was taken off, I do not know, but I still think that he and Ele should start in that position, and rightfully so. These guys are going to be sitting back, and even though you're thinking Umshini Vele has also come in that position and is basically just, it doesn't look like the one that we saw as a 10, but now he looks like a proper box-to-box midfielder who goes in, collects the ball, but is also available later on in the stages, in our finishing stage. So it's very nice to see him morph into this box-to-box midfielder. There's no coaching at Chiefs. While the coach has taken one player that I was always like, ish, he looks like those traditional number 10s, like I'm a star player, abangamagi, lababa nembongo, lababa magelwayo, and then Toli Pola creates. But manje, he goes to collect the ball even deeper and he still creates. So Unabi has really done an amazing job with Khosi Ngcobo. And then as a 10, one player who is now like defined with the mistake that he made when he missed two chances is Shabalala, which I think is unfair. The reason why I think this is unfair is because Shabalala, there's a chance he created not just for himself, the one where he pressed and won the ball and then ended up missing. There's a chance he created for Usirino. There's a chance he created for Khosi Ngcobo. Just to mention the two chances that I remember off the top of my head, there were very clear-cut chances, and there were other chances that he created in the second half. So now people who get that chance are now just thinking of, oh yeah, he missed those chances, so that boy should never play ever again. Which I feel like is just being emotional and not watching the game holistically and looking at the moments where he didn't do well. He made two mistakes, mainly the one where he missed, but you think about the other chances that he created throughout that game. Then you're like, why would Nabi then decide, hey, I'm going to bench Umshini, Shabalala, because people are complaining? I think that makes absolutely zero sense. So Shabalala should still start as a 10, which then brings us to this thing of a bone of contention, if you will, because coach started Gaston Sereno, and I was listening again to the interview got Debza, where he was talking about how playing Usireno out wide is probably not the greatest of ideas. Even though he inverts, it doesn't give him as much freedom. So I think that Gaston Sireno being played out wide and then him inverting is a thing that is not just designed for him to run away from too much responsibility of tracking back, but be available in the regions where they are creating situations. But I also think it's all about when we are pressing as well, you need Umtusha Balala and his energy right there in the middle to run be along the striker in creating opportunities. So for me, I still find it tricky to just play him as a 10 alone, or just him, because it's like then when we're pressing. But then again, someone will come with an argument that will say, but Mpilo, it's Richards Bay. It's not like they're going to try and post midfield. They are going to be more direct and just play the balls over. In which case, I would say, I am not opposed to Chiefs playing, which will never happen, of course, but they could still play a diamond midfield and just have 4 people up in midfield. And in that way, they will have maybe Ecele sitting deepest in the diamond, and then they could have Ungobo this side, Umtusha Balala this side, and then Usirino centrally. So they could have all of those 4 players in midfield because we're going to need to congest. And then on the right side, of course, we have Solomons who's going to stretch the side that way. And then on this side, you're going to have more deeping the other one, stretching the midfield. And then Ulilepo as one of the wingers from the right will then invert right and be in the box, because also if we're trying to cross the balls or find the way of getting the ball into the box, you need a striker who's going to be there. So that is a thinking, but I know it's not going to happen because coaches don't usually change their tactics so drastically. Because one thing that I see is that Chiefs still want to play crosses into the box, which I think does not make any sense at all, but they do it in any case. But then if you're going to play crosses, you might as well have someone who has an aerial threat. And if you're going to have someone who's going to be an aerial threat and you're not going to start with Uranga, might as well start with Ulilepo. Yes, the coach has said he's a winger, and we all know and we see that he's a winger, but he could play as a second striker, as the coach has said. Because if you're playing him alongside Uranga or you're playing him alongside Dupree, he could be like not even the second striker, the main striker, who's the one who collects the ball first, and then Abo Dupree, Abo Moti, even Abo Solomons are making runs off of him, because he's also a very smart player. So if he receives the ball like this, he already knows who's running where. Unlike Abo Ranga, who do not have that ability as much. They can hold up play, but for the players who are coming behind them. But if you have Ulilepo, you can get the ball, try to play Abo Solomons, can have the ball, try to play Abo Modi, can have the ball, try to play Abo who's the Mtusha Balala, or even Abo Gaston Sireno behind him. So there could be some tweaking of tactics in this game, but I don't think it will go that far. I still think that Sireno will still play as a right winger who will then invert into midfield at times. And then on the left, it's still going to be, for whatever reason, in fact, if I'm being honest, can I be honest? I think that Umodi will come back and start as a left winger, and then I think Ulilepo will start as a right winger, because Unabi, when you don't play well, he just benches you. And I think that Sireno did not play well enough for him to be considered for this game. So in all honesty, I don't think Usireno will be starting tomorrow's game. But if I were to start him, I would just have fun with the tactics. It's the only problem, Uguti. The last time we saw Nabi trying to move away from his normal 4-2-3-1 shape, he ended up changing it immediately. You remember that game against Stellenbosch? We started with the 5-3-2, and then the moment he realized that it wasn't working, he took off Mlungu, and then we went back to a 4-2-3-1, and then we won that game eventually. So I don't think he's going to move away from that. And then up front, of course, it's going to be Ashley Dupree, who, once again, these are not his games. These are not his games, because playing against Richards Bay, a very team that is very disciplined in terms of marking, they get broken apart, obviously. That's why they're 14th in the league. But they're still going to try and defend deep. You get me? And in them defending deep, they are not allowing Dupree to have any space. So what is he going to do? That is why I'm thinking, and I'm looking at this and thinking, could Nabi change something, given the fact that Dupree becomes absent when we're playing against teams like this? But something could be tweaked, and I'm trying to see how exactly could they find Dupree, because it's gonna be very congested. But then if Unabi thinks of something, he will make it happen. But what do you guys think of this game and how do you actually see it? Do let me know on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals al pelumoy.